More often than not, when you hear the title MMO, Destiny 2 is not a game that usually comes to mind, even though Bungie in the most recent years has started to move towards this idea of it. Compared to an MMO game like Final Fantasy XIV Online, for example, the same fundamentals of a deep, rich story, specific classes that each fit their own roles and identity, endgame content that requires multiple people at once to do, and a loot system that players can work towards exist between the two. However, one thing that is prominent in a more traditional MMO is something called a skill or ability rotation, where after you've learned all of your abilities / skills, there will be a prioritized list of which ones to press in order, eventually rotating around back to the beginning. This feature, we'll call it, isn't apparent in something like Destiny 2. We have simplified abilities that serve one purpose, like supers, a main focus of DPS and gunplay, and build crafting. However, with a build on the Hunter in today's video, we can get pretty close to what an ability rotation would look like in Destiny 2. So if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like, comment any thoughts about the build, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and follow me over at my Twitch for more Destiny content. Starting off with what the main focus of the build is going to be, we're looking to weave abilities alongside our weapons to create an ability rotation, and the exotic arms young Ahamkara's spine is going to be able to make that happen. Its exotic perk, Wish Dragon Teeth, increases the duration and blast radius on the Trip Mine grenade, then gives us grenade energy back after dealing damage with any ability. To take advantage of our abilities giving grenade energy back, we're going to be pairing this with Playing with Fire and the Burning Edge from Middle Tree Gunslinger. Both of these perks together are going to be able to give us melee and dodge energy back whenever we burn something with the melee ability, thus in the long run letting us spam our Trip Mine grenades. Before we talk about the mods to pair with this build, we're going to talk about the loadout and weapons. For starters, we're going to be using a double special weapon loadout with one of the weapons having lead from gold on it. I made a video recently talking about how underrated lead from gold is and why double special weapon loadouts are going to be the meta moving into Witch Queen. But to sum it up, lead from gold gives ammo to the weapon with it rolled on whenever a heavy brick is picked up. The reason this is so good is so that we can have a special weapon act as a pseudo-kinetic weapon and kill mobs faster than if we were using a kinetic ammo type weapon. In the kinetic slot to act as one of our quote-unquote abilities in the rotation, we're going to use the exotic grenade launcher Witherhoard and its ability to lay a DOT or damage over time effect. On top of Witherhoard being a phenomenal weapon, it is a prime example of an MMO ability, because in some cases, depending on what class you play in any MMO, there will be an ability that applies a DOT effect, and that effect has a timer on it that you have to manage. If you don't pay attention and forget, you lose out on overall DPS because you dropped your DOT. In this case, Witherhoard is going to be our DOT ability, meaning we need to reapply it every so often or we lose out on overall DPS. In the energy slot, this is where our lead from gold weapon is gonna be. In my loadout specifically, I'm running a Cartesian coordinate with Vorpal weapon. Any lead from gold weapon will work. Cartesian coordinate is just a great option for current DPS. To pair with it, for our main DPS weapon, I'm using a threaded needle with autoloading holster and Vorpal weapon. Autoloading holster, again, is going to be another one of our abilities that we have to manage in our rotation. Whenever we use either our Witherhoard or our threaded needle, they go on cooldown until autoloading holster procs and we can use them again. Now that we know what abilities we have in our kit, let's talk about the mods that will complement this build. For starters, in the helmet, guys, we're going to have it as solar energy and use the mod Explosive Wellmaker so that explosive damage kills we get, i.e. our Witherhoard and our Trip Mine, they will create a solar elemental well. Then to pair with it, we'll use Ashes to Assets so that while we're mobbing with the build, our Trip Mine kills will also give us super energy based on the type of enemy we kill. And in my case, I'm also using a linear fusion rifle ammo finder so that I can find heavy ammo more often for lead from gold. Moving over to the arms, to synergize with Explosive Wellmaker, we're going to use the mod Well of Life so that on top of the solar elemental well giving us ability energy to all of our abilities, It's also going to give us 10 seconds of constant healing. Next to it, based on what activity we bring this build into, when we're fighting raid bosses and don't have to worry about champions, we'll use 2 impact induction, so dealing damage with our melee ability gives us even more grenade energy back and synergize with young Ahamkar's spine exotic perk. In the case that champions are present in the current activity though, we'll just swap them out for champion mods in the long run. Moving over to the chest piece, this can be any energy that you guys have. At the end, we could use 2 different mods, but I found it to be preference. If it feels like orbs of power are dropping more often than the solar elemental wells for you, we'll use the mod taking charge to get our stacks of charge with light from orbs of power. But if it feels like you're getting your solar elemental wells more often than your orbs of power, you can just use elemental charge to gain 2 stacks of charge with light every time you pick one up. In the end, both of these mods will do the same exact thing. It just comes down to your preference. Next to your charge with light mod of choice, we'll use 2 resist mods that we can change around depending on the types of enemies in the current activity. Next up on the boots, these are going to be void energy, and to use these stacks of charge with light that we're earning from orbs of power or elemental wells, we're going to use the void safety net mod protective light, so that whenever our shields break into red HP, it's going to consume all stacks of charge with light and give 10 or more seconds of 50% damage resistance. Next to it, we'll use an ammo scav of choice. In my case, I'm using the double fusion rifle scav from the artifact. Then if we got the space, depending on what scav we run, we'll use the mod better already, so orbs of power immediately start healing our shields and synergize with protective light. Finally, over at the cloak, guys, this is going to be the jack of all trades piece of armor for us, because depending on what our loadout is, every mod can be something different. In this case, I'm running fusion rifles, so we're going to pair the artifact mod particle deconstruction with them, debuffing the enemy and giving us 40% more damage whenever we shoot them with a fusion rifle or linear fusion rifle. At the end of the cloak, because of the extra space, I'm also using Well of Ordnance, so that the solar elemental well from earlier will also give more grenade energy back. Then next to it is a bomber, so dodging gives roughly 20% of our grenade back also. Overall, guys, that is the entire build, and just like an MMO, we now know every ability and skill in our kit, meaning we have a rotation to learn. So let's move over to Kali and talk about the rotation for the build. What I'm throwing up on screen right now is the optimal rotation that we want to use on Kali when damage phase starts. This is going to be the order in which we use our abilities, starting with an opener or series of abilities to start the fight off with. In this case, when we start damage off with Kali, the first thing we want to do is shoot her with Witherhoard to apply the DOT and throw a grenade to put it on cooldown immediately. Right after we throw our grenade, we're going to swap to Cartesian coordinate and apply particle deconstruction. Right after she gets the 40% damage debuff applied, we can swap over to our threaded needle and shoot a full magazine. After we're done firing all 5 bullets, we're going to stow our threaded needle and let auto-loading holster do its magic. Because we have our super ability still up at this given time, we're going to reapply Witherhoard and then throw our blade barrage. This is going to immediately give our grenade back, and we're going to rinse and repeat the cycle. Throw a grenade, shoot 5 linear shots, shoot Witherhoard, use an ability, get our grenade back, throw a grenade, 5 linear shots, Witherhoard. Eventually, Kali's wipe mechanic is going to finish and it's going to kill us. But over the course of the entire DPS phase that just played, we were able to shoot off 3 Witherhoard shots, throw 3 grenades, use our super 1 time, and shoot 13 linear bullets. Even though it says we dealt over 730,000 damage to Kali, she has a 2x headshot multiplier, so realistically, in the almost 30 seconds damage phase that we just did, we dealt about 587,000 damage. Of course, this damage can be amplified even further with multiple buffs and debuffs, but overall, guys, that is going to be the build for today's video. This one was mostly for fun and is possible to optimize for higher tier content. There will be a dim loadout link posted down in the description if you want to copy and use this build, but I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm going to catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.